Oh yeah. It's all about you.
I would describe Tupac as an extraordinary human being who was actually quite ordinary. But he was extraordinary in that he felt other people, especially I think young people, he felt them maybe a little bit more than the ordinary person. And he could express the feeling of other people for them. So I think that when people, for instance, listen to Tupac's music, they always feel that he said something that, God, I wish I had said it, or I want to say that. That's how I feel, you know. So I would just describe him as an extraordinary human being who was very ordinary. He was my son, and so I knew him and loved him as a human being, as a son, as a mother would a son. He was a good son, a good guy, but he was human, a human person. And I think that the beauty of him was in his humanness. I think it's, you mentioned September 11th. What affects me the most is the thing that happened the closest to when he died. Princess Diana was killed right after. And a huge school massacre happened at Columbine in this country. That would have affected Tupac, especially the children, the killing of the children, and that it has happened so many times and so much after that. The violence that we've continued to exert upon each other and ourselves. I think that Tupac would be troubled by it, but I really feel like he would have tried to do something to speak to it. I don't fool myself into thinking that he could solve all problems, but I think that the music would be different, because Tupac's music would speak to the huge loss and change that those events had on all of our psyches. I think that we are all different today because of those events and our own experiences around it.
Wanna laugh at how I got my ass caught up with this bad bitch, thinking I had her, but she had me in the long run. It's just my luck, I'm stuck with fucking with the wrong one.
It's so amazing. I just thank you so much for all of those descriptions, because when my son died in 1996, people were trying to remember him differently. And the fact that time has molded him to be all of those things that you say, rather than the negative, small things that some people wanted to portray him as. I don't think that I could ask for anything better than that. I always wanted people to understand that Tupac was an artist, and I always wanted them to appreciate him as an artist, as a true artist, and to appreciate all of his work rather than to pick and choose lines from somebody's work that was so massive. And sometimes people choose one sentence and they want to define his body of work. So I think the most important thing for me is that people today view him as an artist, as a complete artist, and as a humanitarian, and as a person who felt other people's pain. That, as a mother, I don't think that I could ask for anything more. I really feel blessed about the way that people accept, understand, appreciate, and love my son. I feel blessed by it. It's a gift, and I do not take it for granted or lightly. I think that it's a gift that, meaning no disrespect to any mother, but I have this gift. Many mothers have lost their children. Not many mothers have lost their children physically and been able to have their children still before them in so many ways. I actually can hear my son's laugh almost anytime I want to. Lots of mothers, you know, don't have that gift. So I take it very specially. I understand that I have a gift that other people don't have, and I appreciate it. And I respect other mothers and fathers who don't have that, because death is a very funny thing. It's very sometimes easy for us to remember someone's eyes, or, you know, even the way they made you feel. But sometimes the years can make the sound of their voice kind of disappear, become fainter. So I just feel blessed that if I want to see my son, I can see him. I can see him walking. I can see him laughing. I can hear his laugh. I can hear his silliness. I could see the awkwardness, you know. I could see the imperfections of my son, rather than having to remember him as a mold from somewhere deep within my subconscious.
Based on lies we live in, scandalous times, these games like my religion. You could be rolling with the thug, instead you with this
Cannot ever answer that question, because Tupac's music, look, it was so different. In any collection of his music, you have there are songs that I really need to hear if I'm involved in a legal battle. If I'm involved, you know what I mean? They're fight songs. I need the fight song, you know what I mean? And then there are songs that are loving and tender, and I need those songs. And then there are songs that I know he wrote for my daughter. I need that song. And, you know, so my favorite Tupac song is really all of them. It's hard, I know it sounds, but it's true. Even Dear Mama. Dear Mama was written for me, yes, but like all things with Tupac, it was also written for other mothers.
For all the mothers.
Dear Mama was written for a lot of mamas. It was written for Malcolm X's wife, Betty Shabazz. It was written for Coretta Scott King. It was written for a lot. It was written for mothers in that situation, or who, you know, it was written for mothers with sons, you know, struggling to do the best that they can. So I like them all. I think that Tupac was brilliant in his ability to speak to just about every strong emotion that we have.
Baby, if you got it, better flaunt it. Let the liquor help you get a bonus. I'm still tipsy from last night, bumping the walls as a pose.
My personal message for Tupac fans would be for them to live brightly, strongly, out loud, to sing, to write, to dance, to play, to create music, to create plays, to create poetry, to live, to act as though life is so precious that if you don't get this line down right now, you know, the world is going to end. I want his fans to live giving us everything that they have, because I sincerely believe that those young people and other people who want for freedom and justice in the world, that they will be able to give us that, but only if we encourage them to be wrong sometimes, if we encourage them to make mistakes sometimes. So I say live out loud. I say it because I want them to live, and I want them to make mistakes out loud, and to not apologize for their mistakes, but to look at them and say, how can I do it better the next time? Always knowing that there is another next time, you know. That's what I would like for them to do. Personally, I'm still trying to do small work. And small work for me is working to change the life of one person at a time. So I'm interested in making sure that the Tupac Shakur Center for the Arts always has its doors open, that we are always there to encourage a young person to express themselves creatively, that I can always be mindful of the older people in my life. You know, I go to church and I love the old women in my church. And so my mission is to learn more from them how to endure and to do it with love and care. That's my personal mission.
And maybe you with fantasies of a certain, can I hit it? Addicted to the things you do, but still true what I'm saying, boo.
I absolutely did think of it then, and I think of it now. And I believe that when Tupac said that, he was completely right. I actually think he's still right, because I personally believe that we are not ready to have a black president. And the way that we know that is by how many times people question that man's word on his religion or his state of origin. You know, that shows you that literally people are not ready to accept him as that. The best thing, however, is that God has given us one anyway. And so we get to prepare ourselves for what I believe, and my hope would be we can have other black presidents, and also yellow ones and brown ones and red ones, and you know, yeah. I think that it's good to look at it like that. But I think that basically Tupac's words were right about right, you know, and I think we could see it clearly during the election.
Yeah, sure.
Every other day, no matter where I go, I see the same.
Tupac would be sending a letter. Here's a song, Letter to the President. I think that Tupac would send that same letter to the president, because here's the thing about Tupac, is that Tupac didn't really judge you on your color. That was cute, but integrity was very important to him, and keeping your word and doing things like that. So I believe that Tupac would have asked the same of President Barack Obama as he asked of President Clinton and President Bush before him, yeah. And when we look at the fact that, which is one of the reasons why we still have our center, our young people are dying in more ways than I want to count. As long as that's happening, as long as young girls are not safe to walk the streets, as long as our communities are not safe havens for our families, then I think that Tupac would have been writing about these things, same thing. I think he would have been trying to get an audience with the president to give the president a piece of his mind. I certainly do. Tupac didn't mind that.